Need I remind you that Nathan and I had been together since before Iowabeard even came to the state, let alone at the school? A teacher told him to calm down or he would get detention. He blew up at this teacher and proceeded to summarize his version of what happened. This backfired, causing him to get another detention. He stormed off while declaring him and Nathan mortal enemies and that their war would not end until he won me over. That year, we had an English class with this amazing teacher. Let's call him Mr. Williams, because he sounded and acted a lot like Robin Williams. This guy was great. He was one of those teachers that lived for his job, so he was extra motivated to make sure that every student succeeded. And he said time and time again that he knew some people in his class had a passion for reading and or writing, so it was up to him to encourage those people to pursue their goals. Everyone loved Mr. Williams, except Iowabeard. Apparently over that summer, he had taken to writing fan fiction. He never posted it anywhere, but he had a lot of it on file. He wrote a fair few stories and had printed them all off, constantly bragging that he was going to get them published, then become the most famous fan fiction author in the world. That's not how it works, and that's breaking a ton of copyright laws, but whatever. Anyways, he gave one to Mr. Williams early on in the school year, asking him what he thought of one of his finest masterpieces. I was not there to prove it, but as Iowabeard himself said, Mr. Williams attacked his writing, so Iowabeard lashed out to defend himself. Really knowing Mr. Williams, what really must have happened was that he had a few suggestions on how to fix the spelling and grammar, and Iowabeard did not take it well. That's how I see it. From that day forward, Mr. Williams became the new addition to Iowabeard's enemy list. He would badmouth Mr. Williams in front of anybody he saw, accusing him of academic harassment. He also would crank his bad grade tantrums up to 11 with Mr. Williams, likely believing that he was going through some kind of impressive anime transformation while he was doing it. Mr. Williams, being the saint that he was, offered Iowabeard after-school help on his writing, which his parents forced him to attend. It did not make much difference, though. He still basically wrote gibberish. The flirting increased too. Time and time again, he would walk in between me and Nathan, openly admitting to trying to split us up. Only he would describe it as saving you from this unfitting and abusive relationship. Fear now, you shall be with your true man soon. Each time he said something like this, I held back vomit, while Nathan stared daggers at Iowabeard. Periodically, he would thrust these fanfictions into my or Nathan's laps. To me, these were apparently weapons of mass seduction that were using to win over his future bride. To Nathan, these were threats being used as a way to intimidate Nathan because he was going up against such a talented writer. Surprisingly, these epic tales never succeeded in their primary purpose. Now we get to 9th grade. This is the point where things got really, really bad. Iowabeard began getting super interested in sexuality, more so than usual, that is. Maybe it was to cope with his brother enlisting in the Navy. Maybe it was because Mr. Williams got a job as the 9th grade English teacher, and Iowabeard was forced to handle his academic abuse yet again. Don't know, don't care, but he started getting dangerous. While I remained his booty queen or super bottom of choice, he still lusted after every girl in our grade, growing increasingly obvious with his staring and drooling. He even reached out to touch them sometimes, which never ended well for poor Iowabeard. This was not the only major development. You know those fan fictions he wrote? Well, now he started publishing them for all to see. That's right. Now the whole world could easily go into the web and see all of Iowabeard's craziness on full display. At first they were horrible, but somewhat readable. As time went on, however, more and more people found his fanfiction account and began to give his stories negative reviews. The main criticisms were horrible spelling, being unfaithful to the source material, having a super boring writing style, being racist, sexist, homophobic, etc., and having terrible spelling. This did not sit well with Iowabeard. He accused Nathan of sending an army of trolls, bullies, and haters to his fanfiction page. Naturally, Nathan just laughed this off, so Iowabeard decided to tell the whole school about this, which only caused more people to find out about his laughable stories, which then made him angrier. Rinse and repeat several times over. Perhaps the worst consequence of this was that Nathan, the very person these stories were supposed to intimidate, was unable to stop reading them. The very day one was posted, he would call me up and give me a dramatic reading of his own. I never found them too funny, but it was nice to hear him having fun. Besides, he's got a cute laugh. Things got out of hand when some YouTubers got a hold of these fanfictions and started doing dramatic readings of them, typos and all. This caused Iowabeard to snap, vowing revenge on these people, so he decided to write them into his stories as villains, and they would systematically be killed off. I only know this because of those readings that Nathan would give me. When an overweight, sex-starved maniac with a god complex goes to your school, writes stories about killing YouTubers, that tends to stick with you. Once again, these threats didn't have any effect. The YouTubers in the fanfictions did not notice. To him, this must have been an indication that he could put whoever he wanted in these stories with no consequences. I think you all know where this is going. Iowabeard did a lot of one-shot fanfictions, rarely ever writing one with a second chapter. However, he did have one lingering story on his page. It was the ongoing saga of Batman and Iowabeard's self-insert, who would go around Gotham City, often misspelled Gotham City, killing the various assortment of baddies that were either in the comics or were Iowabeard's own creations. These were all standard self-insert fare. The self-insert was the smartest, strongest, most skilled, and most intelligent guy around, while everyone else was a bumbling idiot who basically worshipped the ground the self-insert walked on. Nathan seemed to like these the most, as they were basically Iowabeard's literary masturbation. However, they would not always be funny. One time he was reading one of the fanfictions to me over the phone, then went dead silent. I asked him what was wrong. What he said next caused me to freeze. "That psycho wrote you into the story!" No, that can't be right. He wouldn't. I thought to myself. How foolish I was. He could and did. There was a character with my name, had my physical description down to the tiniest detail, and was in an abusive relationship with a boy named Nathan, who beat her day in and day out. I was mortified. He wrote me as a living sex doll. Not 10 sentences could go by without some character or the narrator talking about my butt, or how Iowabeard's OC and I were destined for each other. Keep in mind, this was not something he sent me. Oh no, this was on the internet, the very visible internet. People were seeing this, likely people we knew. Luckily, those who reviewed it were not too kind, so at least there's that. It didn't stop there. He was also writing the Super Smash Bros. Fanfiction that was just supposed to be the longest in history. He succeeded with this by only spamming the phrase, "Praise Jesus," for over 100 chapters. Back to the point, he wrote me in again, this time as Peach, still making constant references to my butt and how Iowabeard's self-insert was hoping to marry me and give me married butt love. I had it with him. Luckily, by the time he posted that, sophomore year was about to start, so I only had to wait until then to confront him. A few days before school started, he posted one of his English papers as a fanfiction, using it to attack Mr. Williams on a public website. Few people read it, and nobody sided with him. I guess he did this to celebrate that he would no longer have Mr. Williams as a teacher or something. His motives remain unclear to this very day. When confronted about what he did, he remained unapologetic. To him, it was a great honor to be written in one of his stories, let alone multiple. I bothered him about it for days, and he would not give up. Finally, after school one day, while he was waiting to be picked up, I cornered him. I said something along the lines of this. "Listen here, you fat, smelly slug. If you don't stop writing me and Nathan and your stories, I'm going to make you miserable. I know your parents don't know what you say about me or what you write. I can easily show them. Get it through your head already. I don't love you. I don't even like you. I love Nathan. I want nothing to do with you or your fetish-fueled garbage. He looked like he was about to cry, but I showed no pity. Normally, I'm that sweet girl who would not hurt a fly. This time it was different. Iowabeard has pushed me too far. I had to act. I had to stop him. Yes, I know. I should have told my parents or his parents or somebody about what he was writing. Simply put, I was young and stupid. I felt like I could have handled it on my own. I felt like I was strong enough to withstand the storm of Iowabeard's advances. Now I know different. But more on that later. Turns out my threat worked. The next Batman story he posted, I was unceremoniously written out with little fanfare. Good. It was an anticlimactic way for my character to leave, but I'm okay with that. I don't think anyone would have been all upset, honestly. That would require people actually liking his work. Around November, Iowabeard would get into some serious trouble. There was this one girl, let's call her Heather. Heather and I are decent enough friends, though not too close. Well, I guess she made it onto Iowabeard's must-have butts because he straight up squeezed her butt in between classes. I was not there to see it, but word traveled around the school like wildfire. Iowabeard was suspended, and if what I heard was true, he was also threatened with Heather pressing charges, which she ultimately did not do. I want to know if this is true or not, but Heather does not want to talk about that ever again, so I'll respect her boundaries. People began branding Iowabeard as a bad guy after that. Nobody would get anywhere near him, not just because of his rank odor this time. As per usual, Iowabeard was not having any of this. He decided to prove to everyone that he was a good person. No, not a good person. A great person. The best person. A person so good that it would make Mother Teresa look like Hitler. How was he going to accomplish this? With his fan fiction, of course. He started inserting morals into his stories. When I say morals, I use that in the loosest of terms. What he would do was insert either a generic and bland educational moment or bend the story to shape his hateful and uncompromising worldview. Now, I myself am a Christian. I've been one my whole life. So is Nathan, and so is Iowabeard. What sets our beliefs apart is that we do not believe that everyone does not abide by our faith is evil. Yes, that's what Iowabeard would preach most of the time. He even made a story about the Peanuts gang trying to stop the spirit of atheism from taking over their town. Needless to say, this only made him look like a worse person, especially because, by now, a fair few of our class members were reading Iowabeard's stories to make fun of them. Everyone always knew he was messed up, and this did not help in the slightest. There was now irrefutable evidence of what he believed, as if people did not want to get close to him now. Oh boy. You'd think this guy was made of toxic waste. Then it happened. Something inside of him snapped. No, he didn't run around the school trying to kill anybody. Something far more unexpected happened. Once again, I am not making this up. This actually happened. Iowabeard was convinced that he was a prophet of God. You read that right. Iowabeard had a dream that God himself told him to write his fan fiction as it would bring people to him. In return, he would be made a king on earth and nobleman in heaven, all while having any woman of his choice as his queen. Sure, whatever. We all have crazy dreams. I once had a dream where I was pulling around with a cast of friends in Antarctica, but this guy thought that this was a legitimate calling from the Lord. Want to know how I know? He began telling everyone. I was one of the first, as he would obviously need to inform me that I was chosen to be his queen, so I should leave Nathan before I had to suffer the heartbreak of seeing him die from some kind of heavenly attack.